When you picture France, you might think of Paris, the Alps, or the Riviera. But the reality of the French Republic is far larger and more complex than most imagine. Did you know that France still controls islands in the sun-drenched Caribbean, the strategic Indian Ocean, and the remote South Pacific? These are the last vestiges of a once mighty colonial empire, a collection of territories now known as France d'Outre-mer, overseas France. From the Amazonian rainforest of French Guiana to the volcanic peaks of Réunion, over 2.7 million French citizens live their lives thousands of kilometers from Paris under the same flag. This scattered global presence gives France something extraordinary: the largest exclusive economic zone on the planet, a maritime territory so vast it's larger than the entire European Union. So how did this happen? How, in an age defined by the end of empires, does France maintain this global reach? And what does it mean for the people who call these places home? This is the story of France's other world. The story of France's global presence is a sprawling epic written across oceans and continents over half a millennium. It began not with a grand unified strategy, but with the tentative, ambitious voyages of the 16th and 17th centuries. The rise of the colonial empire began centuries ago when French explorers, driven by a potent mix of royal ambition, commercial greed, and religious fervor, sailed across uncharted waters. They were chasing the fabled riches that Spain and Portugal had found in the New World, seeking gold, spices, and a direct route to the lucrative markets of Asia. Figures like Jacques Cartier, pushing up the St. Lawrence River in the 1530s, and Samuel de Champlain, who founded Quebec in 1608, were the vanguards of this expansion. They were claiming distant lands for the crown, planting the fleur-de-lis on shores that would become known as New France. This first French colonial empire was primarily an Atlantic one, a vast arc of territory stretching from the cold forests of Canada through the Mississippi River Valley, down to the lucrative sun-scorched sugar islands of the Caribbean, like Saint-Domingue, Martinique, and Guadeloupe. This empire was built on a strict mercantilist doctrine known as the exclusif, which mandated that colonies could only trade with the mother country. It was a system designed to enrich France, funneling raw materials like fur, fish, and, most importantly, sugar, back to its ports. The engine of this wealth, particularly in the Caribbean, was the brutal and dehumanizing system of chattel slavery. Millions of Africans were forcibly transported across the Atlantic in horrific conditions to toil on plantations, their lives governed by the infamous Code Noir of 1685. This legal code, while ostensibly providing some minimal protections, in reality codified the status of enslaved people as property and institutionalized a system of violent control. However, this first empire proved fragile. A series of costly wars with its great rival, Great Britain, culminated in the disastrous 7 Years' War, which saw France cede most of New France in 1763. The subsequent Haitian Revolution, a monumental and successful slave revolt, led to the loss of its wealthiest colony, Saint-Domingue, in 1804. That same year, Napoleon, needing funds for his European wars, sold the vast Louisiana Territory to the United States, effectively ending France's grand ambitions in North America. Yet from the ashes of this first empire, a second, even larger one would rise. In the 19th century, fueled by the Industrial Revolution's demand for raw materials and new markets, France turned its gaze southward and eastward. Beginning with the invasion of Algiers in 1830, France embarked on a new wave of colonial expansion, participating fiercely in the scramble for Africa. By the early 20th century, it controlled a massive swath of West and Equatorial Africa, the Maghreb, Madagascar, and territories in Asia, most notably French Indochina. This new empire was justified by the ideology of the mission civilisatrice, the civilizing mission. It was a paternalistic and deeply racist belief that France had a duty to bring its language, culture, and supposed enlightenment to lesser peoples. In reality, it was a veneer for economic exploitation and political subjugation. These territories became integral parts of France's global strategy, serving as trading posts, naval bases, and sources of valuable resources like rubber, minerals, and agricultural products, all while providing manpower for its armies, most notably during the two world wars. But the very act of fighting for France's freedom in 2 world wars sowed the seeds of the empire's demise. Colonial soldiers returned home with a new political consciousness and a powerful demand for the same self-determination they had fought for in Europe. The post-World War II era saw the rise of powerful nationalist movements across the globe. France, weakened by war and determined to hold on to its empire, resisted fiercely, leading to two of the 20th century's most brutal conflicts of decolonization. The First Indochina War ended in a humiliating defeat for France at Dien Bien Phu in 1954. Even more traumatic was the Algerian War, a savage conflict from 1954 to 1962 that brought France itself to the brink of civil war. These bloody wars made the cost of empire untenable. As the winds of decolonization swept across Africa and Asia in the 1960s, France faced a choice. The choice was personified by Charles de Gaulle. Returning to power in 1958 amidst the Algerian crisis, he understood that the old imperial model was dead. He engineered a managed retreat. In 1958, he offered France's sub-Saharan African colonies a referendum, immediate independence or autonomy within a new, loosely defined French community. All but Guinea chose autonomy, but this proved to be a brief transitional phase. By 1960, the Year of Africa, most of these territories had negotiated their full independence, albeit often maintaining close economic and military ties with Paris. The post-decolonization transformation saw France reinvent its relationship with its remaining territories. While the vast land empires in Africa and Asia were gone, France retained a scattered collection of islands and territories, often called the confettis de l'empire, the confetti of empire. These were the places that, for a variety of reasons, did not follow the path to independence. Some, like the old colonies of the Caribbean and Reunion Island, had been French for centuries and had populations that, through a policy of cultural and political assimilation, largely identified as French. Others were deemed too small or economically vulnerable for statehood, and some were simply too strategically valuable to let go. To manage this new reality, France developed a complex and evolving legal architecture. The transformation of colonies into territories and overseas territories created a unique legal framework that persists today. The most integrated of these are the départements et régions d'outre-mer, or DROMs. These include Guadeloupe, Martinique, French Guiana, Réunion, and more recently, Mayotte. Constitutionally, they are considered as much a part of France as Paris or Normandy. Their citizens are full French and European Union citizens. They vote in all national elections, use the euro, and are represented directly in the French Parliament. Then there are the Collectivités d'Outre-mer, or COMs, which have a greater degree of autonomy. This category includes a diverse group like French Polynesia, Wallis and Futuna Saint Martin, and Saint Barthélemy. Each COM has a unique statute defining its relationship with Paris, granting it powers over local affairs like taxation and social security, while France typically retains control over defense, foreign policy, and currency. A special case is New Caledonia, which holds a sui generis, or of its own kind status. Following a period of intense conflict between the indigenous Kanak population and descendants of European settlers, the Numa Accord of 1998 established a unique power-sharing arrangement and a pathway toward potential independence through a series of referendums. Finally, there are uninhabited territories like the French southern and Antarctic lands, maintained for scientific research and to secure France's vast maritime claims. This intricate legal tapestry, however, does not erase the underlying tensions of this post-colonial arrangement. The legacy of history is long and complex. Modern debates over sovereignty, independence movements, and resource rights continue to shape these relationships. In New Caledonia, the question of independence remains a potent and divisive issue. In the Caribbean DROMs, social unrest frequently erupts, fueled by economic inequality, a high cost of living dependent on imports from mainland France, and the lingering health and environmental scandals from the colonial era, like the chlordecone pesticide contamination. At the same time, these territories provide France with immense strategic and geopolitical advantages. They are forward posts, for military power projection and intelligence gathering across every ocean. They host critical infrastructure like the Guyana Space Center in French Guyana, Europe's primary spaceport, and crucially they grant France the world's second-largest exclusive economic zone, a maritime domain of over 11 million square kilometers, rich in potential resources from fisheries to deep-sea minerals. This is the paradox of modern France. A nation-state, but also a global archipelago, a republic founded on universal values, yet still grappling with the particular, often painful legacies of its imperial past. Why should I care now? Because this imperial legacy is a living reality. Take the recurring disputes over fishing rights, a flashpoint of post-Brexit tensions. Access to these rich waters is a matter of intense economic and political negotiation. But the relevance extends far beyond fishing. Strategically, these overseas territories are critical military footholds. From naval bases in the Indo-Pacific to the spaceport in French Guyana, France maintains a global power projection capability matched by few. The foundation of this presence is France's immense maritime domain, with an exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, spanning over 11 million square kilometers. France controls the second-largest maritime space in the world, granting it sovereign rights over a vast portion of the planet's oceans. This control translates into direct geopolitical influence. Key global shipping lanes pass through French-controlled waters, from the Caribbean to the Mozambique Channel. Overseeing these arteries of trade gives France a significant lever in the global economy, and beneath the waves lies a treasure trove. The French seabed holds vast deposits of polymetallic nodules and rare earth minerals, essential for modern technology, positioning France at the forefront of future resource exploration. Beyond economics, these territories are indispensable for science. Remote outposts are crucial for monitoring climate change, while tropical stations provide invaluable data for tracking hurricanes and understanding global weather patterns. The infrastructure is also key. Modern port facilities act as vital hubs in the global supply chain. With such a vast maritime territory comes the responsibility of policing it. The French Navy conducts constant patrols combating illegal fishing, drug trafficking, and piracy. This global network gives France a unique voice on the world stage. Its physical presence in every ocean lends it authority in shaping the international laws that govern them. This influence is felt in diplomatic circles, where France acts as a bridge between Europe and regional blocs. Today, there is a growing emphasis on balancing exploitation with conservation. France is pioneering sustainable resource management, establishing large marine protected areas and investing in renewable energy to safeguard these fragile ecosystems. The strategic value also extends to space and the digital realm. The Guyana Space Center is Europe's gateway to orbit, a critical asset for satellite launches. The territories also host landing points for undersea fiber optic cables that form the backbone of the Internet. These lands are also living laboratories. From the Amazonian rainforest to Polynesian coral reefs, they host incredible biodiversity, attracting scientists working to unlock nature's secrets and find solutions to global challenges. So, from the depths of the ocean to the frontiers of space, from global trade to climate science, France's overseas territories are not relics. They are dynamic, strategic assets that anchor its status as a 21st century global power. As our journey through France's vast and scattered overseas empire draws to a close, we turn our gaze to the horizon, to the complex and uncertain future facing these territories. These are not mere footnotes in the story of France. They are living, breathing societies at the forefront of the 21st century's greatest challenges and opportunities. Their future prospects are a microcosm of the questions facing our entire planet. Questions of identity, sovereignty, environmental survival, and economic justice. The path forward is not a single straight line drawn from Paris, but 1,000 different threads woven together in the warm waters of the Pacific, the Caribbean, and the Indian Ocean. The most immediate and existential of these challenges is climate change. For many of France's island territories, this is not a distant threat, but a daily reality. The very ground beneath their feet is disappearing. In low-lying atolls, like those in French Polynesia or Wallis and Futuna, rising sea levels are an existential crisis. Saltwater intrusion contaminates precious freshwater lenses, rendering agricultural land barren and drinking water unsafe. Coastal erosion, supercharged by more frequent and intense tropical cyclones, devours homes, roads, and sacred ancestral sites. We are witnessing communities that have lived in harmony with the ocean for millennia now facing the prospect of becoming climate refugees, their entire culture and existence threatened with being washed away. The vibrant coral reefs, the bedrock of their marine ecosystems, and a vital defense against storm surges are bleaching into ghostly white skeletons due to rising ocean temperatures. This isn't just an environmental catastrophe, it's a cultural and humanitarian one unfolding in slow motion across France's Blue Empire. Parallel to this environmental struggle is a profound political one, the question of self-determination. Nowhere is this more acute than in New Caledonia. The journey here has been long and often painful, marked by the violent conflicts of the 1980s between the indigenous Kanak people who seek full sovereignty and the Caldoche, descendants of European settlers who wish to remain French. The landmark No-Mea Accord of 1998 initiated a unique 20-year process of decolonization, promising a gradual transfer of powers and culminating in a series of independence referendums. We have now witnessed 3 such votes, each one rejecting independence, yet revealing a society starkly divided along ethnic and political lines. The process has left deep scars and an uncertain future. Will a new political statute be found that satisfies both the aspirations of the Kanak people for recognition and sovereignty and the desire of loyalists to stay within the French Republic? This question of political destiny echoes in different keys across the other territories. From Martinique and Guadeloupe, where debates about autonomy and reparations for the legacy of slavery persist, to French Polynesia, with its own history of a potent independence movement, the relationship with mainland France is constantly being renegotiated. Each territory has a unique constitutional status, a complex tapestry of rights and obligations that reflects its specific history. The future will see these statuses continue to evolve, driven by local demands for greater control over their economic resources, their culture, and their laws. These are pivotal moments, not just for the islands themselves, but for France, which must decide what it means to be a republic, one and indivisible, when its citizens are scattered across every ocean on Earth. As the political ground shifts, the economic value of these territories is skyrocketing, driven by a global hunger for resources. Thanks to these islands, France possesses the second largest exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, in the world, an underwater territory of over 11 million square kilometers. For centuries, this maritime domain was valued primarily for its fisheries and shipping lanes. Today, it is seen as a treasure chest. The abyssal plains surrounding islands like Clipperton and French Polynesia are believed to hold vast deposits of polymetallic nodules and crusts, rich in rare earth minerals like cobalt, nickel, and manganese, the essential building blocks of modern technology from smartphone batteries to electric vehicles. The prospect of deep-sea mining presents a tantalizing economic opportunity, a chance for resource independence for France and wealth for the territories. Yet it also carries immense and unknown environmental risks threatening fragile, unexplored ecosystems. The debate is fierce. Is this the key to a prosperous future, or a Faustian bargain that would sacrifice the health of the ocean for short-term gain? Beyond mining, the blue economy offers a greener path. The unique geography of these tropical islands makes them ideal laboratories for renewable energy. Reunion Island is a leader in harnessing solar power. In Tahiti, pioneering projects are exploring ocean thermal energy conversion, or OTEC, a technology that uses the temperature difference between deep and shallow ocean water to generate clean, constant electricity. And in French Guiana, nestled in South America, the territory's most valuable asset isn't in the sea, but points towards the sky. The Guiana Space Center is Europe's primary spaceport, a critical piece of strategic infrastructure that makes France a major player in the commercial satellite and space exploration industry. This single facility is the backbone of the local economy, a powerful reminder of how these territories anchor France's technological and strategic ambitions. This immense economic and strategic value is matched by an equally priceless ecological value. These territories are not just French, they are global biodiversity hotspots. They host an extraordinary concentration of endemic species found nowhere else on Earth. The Amazonian rainforest of French Guiana is a lung for the planet. The coral reefs of New Caledonia are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a kaleidoscope of life with unparalleled marine diversity. The remote and icy French southern and Antarctic lands are a sanctuary for vast colonies of penguins, seals, and albatrosses. In an age of mass extinction, these territories are modern-day arks. France has taken on the role of guardian, creating some of the world's largest marine protected areas, or MPAs, around these islands, committing to protect these vital ecosystems. But this commitment is tested daily by the pressures of illegal fishing, plastic pollution, and the ever-present threat of climate change. The future of global biodiversity literally depends on the conservation successes or failures in these scattered French lands. Amidst these grand geopolitical and environmental narratives, the most important future is the human one. The future of these territories will be defined by their people and their unique, resilient cultures. These are not simply transplanted French societies. They are vibrant, syncretic cultures born from centuries of complex history, a fusion of European, African, indigenous and Asian influences. It's in the rhythm of zouk music from Guadeloupe and Martinique, the soulful Maloya chants of reunion, once banned and now a symbol of cultural pride. It's in the taste of Creole cuisine, a language of its own spoken through spices and ingredients from around the globe. It's in the ongoing struggle to revitalize and preserve indigenous languages and traditions from the Kanak of New Caledonia to the Amerindian peoples of Guyana. For the younger generations, the future is about navigating this dual identity, proudly Martinican, Kanak or Tahitian, and also French and European. It is about finding a way to embrace modernity, technology, and a globalized world without losing the cultural soul that makes their home unique. So, what is the future of France's overseas empire? It is a story of profound contradiction. These islands are simultaneously on the front lines of climate catastrophe and at the cutting edge of green energy innovation. They are home to movements seeking to sever colonial ties, while also serving as the strategic anchors of France's global power. They are repositories of ancient traditions and laboratories for 21st century living. The future of these territories will not be a single monolithic story, but a mosaic of different destinies. Some may choose independence, forging new nations in the world's great oceans. Others may deepen their integration with France and Europe, seeking new models of autonomy and partnership. What is certain is that these scattered islands, far from being relics of the past, are more relevant than ever. They challenge our very understanding of what a nation can be in the 21st century. And their journey into the future is a story that will continue to shape our world.